All right, well, welcome to this first ever on this channel unboxing video. This one is going to be specifically for, um, if you've been watching anything on the channel lately, you know that I have a huge interest in nerd stuff, and one of the nerdiest things that there is out there is Magic the Gathering. Recently, has been combined with various franchises, and as of today, the franchise that it's crossing over with is Final Fantasy. I have a number of things to open up on this video, but first I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I think is going to make mine special. Yeah, so many people do these unboxing videos because they are into showing off the product inside and, maybe for normal consumers what to expect. Um, but they don't always have a specific tie to it. I do. In this case, Final Fantasy is a franchise that I absolutely love. I am hoping to get into making my own video game someday, and I am going to I'm heavily inspired by these games. Final Fantasy wasn't the first RPG that I ever played. That actually would go to Super Mario RPG, which, if you didn't know, was made by the same people, SquareSoft, or nowadays it's Square Enix. So yeah, Final Fantasy VI is my favorite. That was the first Final Fantasy that I specifically played, and I've played a lot of them. Let's see, 1 I've played and beaten, 2 I've started, 3 I've almost beaten, 4 I've beaten, 5 I've beaten multiple times because there's a few different ways to play that one. 6 played that one many times. There's a few different mods out there, a few different ways it's been released over the years. 7 I've only played the original one. I haven't played any of the spin-offs or any of the remake trilogy yet. 8 haven't started yet, but I own it. Same with 9. 10 I've started. After I started it, though, someone gave me a copy of 10 and 10.2, the HD remaster, so I will get into that eventually. Still going with all these. There's also 11. Haven't played that one. Probably won't, because that's an MMO, and I've already played a bit of 14, which is their other MMO, and I think I only have time for one of those in my life. 12 I haven't started yet, but my wife and I own that. 13 haven't started yet, but again, I will probably eventually get into it. Like I said, 14 I've definitely put some time into. 15 I own a copy of, so I mean to get into that. 16 I don't have a console that plays it yet, so we'll see about that. Aside from those, there are some of the other spin-off franchises. So there's, I say franchise, it's all one franchise. Other spin-off titles. So there is Final Fantasy Tactics, which a lot of people were hoping would get a feature in this at some point. It's not showing up, spoilers. But if you are paying attention to some video game related news this week, you may have heard that that particular game is getting a remake later this year. So that is a different style. It is still turn-based, but it's more tactical on a grid. Think of it like chess with your Final Fantasy characters. RPG chess, if you want to simplify it like that. There's also, again, some of the spin-offs of other games, like 7 is its own thing. The whole universe of Final Fantasy VII is convoluted and fun. There are plenty of mobile games, and one mobile game in particular that I played a lot of was Final Fantasy Record Keeper. That one, unfortunately, has been shut down globally. It was a couple years ago that shut down, but I got a lot of time with that one. It was a free-to-play game, and what I loved most about it, I guess there were 2 things. One was the art style. The art style was mimicking the later Super Nintendo games, so all the characters were mimicking Final Fantasy VI, which, as I said, I absolutely love. And then the story of that game is that it took it was you playing as a new character made for that game, exploring the history and preserving the stories of each other Final Fantasy game. That one also did include tactics. It also included Type 0, which was for the PSP or PS Vita, one of the two. Had a couple other crossovers. It included Kingdom Hearts, if you're familiar with that, and we'll talk about that as it comes up. Again, I had a lot of fun with it. I miss it a lot. I have also played Brave Exvius. I played Final Fantasy Dimensions. I'm replaying that one right now. That one's very similar to Final Fantasy V with its job system. Anyway, well, let's get into this. This is a bundle box, so as you can see here, it's got a few play boosters in it. On the back, it shows you exactly what is inside. So you're going to have these play boosters. It'll have a spin down life counter, some land cards, extra art foil cards, and then a box to keep it all in, which will be handy because not only are there boosters in here, I've also got this whole box. This is just a bunch of the play boosters, which some people like to use for drafting. That's a whole other thing. I got this just because I love the games, and I will probably be holding on to these cards for a very long time because I again, just love it. So on the front here, I'll go back to that one in a second, but we have the representative of Final Fantasy I, referred to as the Warrior of Light. Here we have the main character, if you can narrow it down to one, of Final Fantasy VI. Her name is Terra. Then we have Cloud. Hard to not know who he is, but he's the main of Final Fantasy VII. And then we have Y'shtola. She is kind of the face of Final Fantasy XIV. Again, that's the MMO though, so when you play that, you get to create your own character. You can create it to be like her race or something completely different. So we'll get to that one after we get through the initial bundle. On here, we've got Sephiroth. He's the main bad guy of Final Fantasy VII. And then Lightning, who's the main protagonist of 13, as well as there's 13-2 and Lightning Returns. It's 13-3. There's a trilogy of those games too. I will not get into so much the history of Final Fantasy as a whole, but I will probably talk a bit about who I recognize and maybe my history with some of these games. So let's get into it. First time doing an unboxing video like this, so I apologize if this is not what you're used to, but try to keep this as clean as possible on the video. Sephiroth there. Now we have full art here of Lightning and a full art here of Sephiroth again. So keep those to the side. We have the box that it's all coming in as well. There's the logo. Mr. Longsword himself. If you stick around to the end, I will probably have some surprises in this video as well. Because, yeah, that's 9 boosters there. Again, we've got more in this other box, so we'll be able to fill this up and then some. So, now I've had a few of these boxes over the years. I'm not quite sure what the point of this is, except just to have as a fun collectible. These are tokens that are representative for different effects or boosts that you may have. I won't worry about popping those out right now just because they can kind of get all over the place. But that symbol there, the diamond, or in this case crystal, that's representative of the Final Fantasy franchise. Many of the games include crystals of some sort, and then the logo in the middle is the magic logo. So again, we'll keep this, but just put it to the side for now. Here's the spin down counter. Traditional games of Magic the Gathering, you start at 20 life, and then you go down from 20, 19, 18, and all the way down to 1 at the end. If you notice here, I'll hold this up clearly for you. Instead of a 20, this is a creature unique to Final Fantasy called a Moogle, a little usual helper guy. So they appear in different forms. We'll probably see a bunch of them throughout this video and some of the others. And yeah, I'll get going now. So, there are multiple different kinds of cards in the, in the Final Fantasy franchise. Interestingly, Final Fantasy has its own trading card game. I don't know that it does nearly as well as Magic does, but there are creatures in Magic. There are sorceries, which are basically just additional spells that you can cast on your turn. Instants, which you can cast like sorceries, but at any time, not just your turn. There are enchantments, which are spells that stick around. There are lands that you can play, and those you tap to get mana, and those help cast your spells of all kinds and the creatures. And there's a few others, but those are kind of the main ones. So I will try to break this up, putting different piles of the cards around, but I'll still hold them up here so that you can see what's going on. And again, maybe explain my history with whoever shows up. In each one of these packs, you're going to see various art styles and rarities. I'll try to explain as I go. So start here. So usually in one of these packs, you'll also find either just a little promotional thing from Magic or maybe a token card. Tokens are usually not ones you can actually cast, but you create as you play. So this is a treasure on one side and a hero token on the other. Heroes show up a lot throughout this set of Magic, based on there's certain equipment that you can get, and again, we'll probably be seeing a fair amount of that. So tokens I'll put over here, or any art cards that we get, because sometimes you may just get a card that shows off some art if it's not an ad for more Final Fantasy stuff or more Magic stuff. So now we'll get into here. Alright, so starting off with Fight On, and if it's a duplicate card, after we're opening so many, I'll just show the title and move on. But Fight On, showing off some Final Fantasy VII characters. This black and white symbol here, it'll change whatever set, for whatever set you're playing with. But if it's in black and white like this, that means it's a common. So we have an instant. Geisel Greens. We have a Chocobo here. This one's showing off someone from Final Fantasy XI. This one is a sorcery. So again, 7 I played, 11 I haven't. Magic Damper. This is from 13. It's another instant. This is Fang. And yeah, Fang is one of the characters in 13. Still haven't played it, but I know she is a main party character. Oh, Gaelic Cat. Okay, this is an enemy from Final Fantasy V. I don't know how well it seems to you in this, but it looks like just a cat wearing wings. That's really it. And it kind of looks like that with the sprites in Final Fantasy V as well. It's a cat that's flying in vigilance. And yeah, so that is our first creature. And now we're getting into something very unique for this set. So this is a summon. Starting in Final Fantasy III, that you could have a summoner class, and what that would do is get a creature of some other sort to appear for a turn, and usually do a bunch of damage to one, if not all, of the enemies that you were fighting at the time. Maybe they would have other effects, like maybe they would heal your party, maybe they would just give you higher defense for a little while. So they had to find a way to do this in Magic, because since Final Fantasy III, summons have been a huge thing, all the way up until the most recent game, Final Fantasy XVI, that it played a huge part with summons. So this particular one is Summon GF Ifrit, or Ifrit. If I mispronounce something, I sincerely apologize. But yeah, this one is from Final Fantasy VIII. It's the first summon that you fight and can collect. So yeah, enchantments again will get their own spot here. Blitzball is from Final Fantasy X. This one's an artifact. I was kind of surprised this wasn't an artifact equipment, but it does have its own thing that you can do with it. So yeah, Blitzball is kind of how you actually start off the game in Final Fantasy X. It's their own sport. It's like water polo, but everything is underwater completely. How you can breathe underwater, I have no idea. There you go. It's our first artifact. So artifacts are other permanents that kind of just stick around, maybe have an effect that you can do later if you want to. Syncopate, featuring Seymour, who's the main bad guy from Final Fantasy X. So that is an instant. I believe Syncopate actually showed up in previous sets, but they wanted to include it with this one. So instant will go. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this is one of the Final Fantasy Through the Ages cards. I'll kind of hold it up close so you can see So this name that's a bit smaller and in italics, that is the original character name, original creature name. But they decided, hey, let's maybe show off some of the previous art that has been like created through the series. This particular one, if you can see down here, is from Yoshitaka Amano. He is one of the original artists for the entire game franchise, and this is some of his concept art for the main bad guy from Final Fantasy IV, Golbez. So that is very fun, very exciting to see already show up this early in all this unboxing. I was not expecting to see that. That is so cool. So I believe this is going to be an uncommon. Usually there's more common than anything else in a pack. Makes sense. And you get a few uncommons, and you might get a rare or two or a mythic. So that is another creature. We'll put him here, but we'll probably be sleeving a lot of this up for protection and preservation's sake. The Final Days. This is a scene from 14, it looks like. It's a sorcery. So yeah, this kind of more silvery color here, that means it's an uncommon. Rarity doesn't always have to do with how like expensive it is. It just means how often it gets printed in relation to other cards. So when we get to rares and mythics, mythic is generally the rarest kind, but that can kind of be worked around too, and we'll explain that when we get to it. So Final Days, sorcery, we'll go there. Ether. Ether's an artifact in this. Stores 20 MP. Yeah, that's basically, so MP is your magic power. It's what lets you cast spells throughout all the games. And yeah, that makes sense. Go here. Choco Comet. Chocobos are they're a bird mount. And I mean that quite literally. They're like ostriches, but they make their own work sound. It's just they're fun creatures. They've been around since Final Fantasy II, and yeah, I think they've been in almost every single one. Usually, when you're riding around on a chocobo, you're either you're definitely going to be a lot faster, but you may also be able to avoid any kind of random encounters, which is always nice. So it's a sorcery. Okay, you're going to go there. And then we have our first rare with the gold here. That is Saz Katzroy. Saz is one of the protagonists of Final Fantasy 13. So, like I said, I know some of the plot of the games I haven't even played yet due to games like Final Fantasy Record Keeper. There is a big plot point or plot device, however you want to phrase it, dealing with his son, I want to say, throughout the entire 13 game. So he is important. He's also got this little chocobo here. The little chocobo is also a card that we may run into at some other point down the road in another pack. But yeah, human pilot. Consider check value for a bird or basic land card. So yeah, he'll want to deal with birds a lot, I guess. So okay, and so creature. Here we've got a foil card. Each of these packs is going to have at least one foil as well. So you can kind of tell here. It is a copy of one that we've already run into, but that is fine. I love the look of foils, and which make me happy. So that's another sorcery here. And then we have a mountain. This one is depicting, I want to say this is Mount Colts. This is from Final Fantasy VI. You can see down here, in addition to the artist name, the game that it's from, FF, and then in this case, VI. So this would be Final Fantasy VI. And with the rope bridge like that is Mount Colts, where you can recruit, I want to say it's your fourth party member. So you start off with Terra, and then you get Locke, and then Edgar, and then Edgar's brother, Sabin. Or Sabin. Again, pronunciation, I apologize. I know that this is, again, Final Fantasy VI, though. So lands will go here. Let me kind of move these so they're in better frame now. So we're kind of covering a lot of different of these card types. Again, we have sorceries, like I mentioned, instants. Those are just spells that you can cast. Enchantments. I'm going to include all enchantment creatures here, or enchantments, just because they are a bit different than normal creatures. Creatures are people, any kind of thing that you can control. Artifacts and lands. I don't believe that there are any planeswalkers in the set. That is another card type in Magic the Gathering. but I don't think that's something we have to worry about here. So that is pack number 1. Well, okay. So here we have another token depicting a wizard. This is one specifically from Final Fantasy IX. A lot of plot points to do with this, including one of the main characters of your game. And then another hero from Final Fantasy XIV. Again, heroes are going to show up a lot throughout all of this. And over here we have the Kutrub Forayer. Again, I may have butchered that pronunciation. I apologize. This is from 11, which I don't know. But it's a zombie. So, yeah. Picture there. Gubu Gardener. Another 11 one, but he looks a lot happier. Plant Beast. This is what people would call a mana dork in Magic the Gathering, because he's relatively cheap to cast. It's 1 in 1 green specific mana, and then he can get you more mana down the road. So, Scorpion Sentinel. This is from 7. It's fairly early on in the game. It's after you have done the bombing at the Shinra headquarters, I want to say. And yeah, this is one of your first bosses that you have to actually fight. Robot Scorpion. So this does say artifact creature. So I know that can kind of fall between 2 of these categories here. And I'm gonna put artifact creatures over here. Summon Chocomog. Okay, this one is from Final Fantasy VII. But again, Chocobos, big old birds here, and Mogs or Moogles can show up in multiple games. So while it does say 7, this could really apply to a number of them. So this one's a bit different because every single step is the same. Eventually I may go over all the basics of how to play Magic the Gathering and explain what each of those means, but yeah, for now we'll just kind of put him here with the other summon. I do plan on making a deck that is featuring summons and enchantments heavily. So, Item Shopkeep. This one is from Final Fantasy III, but again, you'll find merchants of all types in every game. So, Human Citizen, Creature. Sahagin. This one says it's from 14. Again, they've appeared since the very first game, but you may have also seen them called Sahuagin. Dungeons and Dragons has a creature basically like that, Sahuagin. But they are, think creature from the Black Lagoon type people, fishmen, Shape of Water. You've got this basically. So that's another uncommon. I think there might be. Oh, okay. So it's not necessarily. Oh no. Okay. So this is another Final Fantasy through the ages. So the original card is Diabolic Intent. But now we've got Shantoto's Coercion. Shantoto is kind of the face of Final Fantasy XI, at least according to games like Final Fantasy Record Keeper. She is a wizard, mage type character in that. So while it is featuring a main character, this is in particular is a sorcery. But I love that art. That is great. And that's so normally there would be a little icon here, but again we're having to go here. So this one would be a rare because it's gold colored. Sorceries here, and now we've got Titus. It looks like Titus. Official pronunciation for this one I know is Titus, based on another game where there was voice acting that said his name, which is called Dissidia. That was a fighting game of Final Fantasy characters. Anyway, Titus Blitzball Star shows him playing Blitzball. So strangely enough, even if a creature is considered legendary, according to Magic, it doesn't necessarily mean it is the rarest thing ever. That's just it has to do with some rules that they've got about legendary artifacts, enchantments, or creatures. So while he is an uncommon, he is still legendary, which means that there can only be one of this particular card out on your battlefield specifically at any time. There are ways around that, but yeah, you can't play 2 Titus Blitzball Stars. You could play Titus, name something else, but not 2 of him. Restoration Magic, classic white magic. So this is something that's kind of new to the Magic the Gathering scene, is that it has tiered levels of casting. So you can choose what level you want to cast it at. You can pay the basic cost and just get the first level, or pay a little bit more and get the second, or pay a lot and get the third. And obviously, the more you can pay, the better it's going to be. So, got an instant here. Oh, the Phantom Train. Oh, by the way, that one was from 5. That was depicting Kryl. So, what's that? Excuse me. Phantom Train I'm excited about because this is something from Final Fantasy VI. This is a boss. You actually have to fight a train at some point, and later on I'll explain a bit more about that, but vehicles are a kind of artifact that can become creatures, basically. But this is one of the best, most memorable parts of Final Fantasy VI, is because you're fighting a train. Yeah, you can see ghosts that are here, but you actually do fight the train itself. It attacks you. It is the only thing that you can attack in that battle. So, artifacts will go here. Oh, okay, so here we're getting our first straight enchantment, and this is one that can flip. You can see that with this symbol here, and I'll show it off in a second, what it flips into. So this is side quest Hunt the Mark. This was from Final Fantasy XII. Looks like a job board, which you can find in a lot of games these days. But yeah, so Hunt the Mark means that, well, I mean, when you do the steps here, so at the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under an opponent's control this turn, create a treasure token. If you control 3 or more treasures, like these, then transform this enchantment. So it transforms into Yzmat, Ultimate Mark. So this enchantment becomes a creature for you, and then this creature is under your control. So because of its default state being an enchantment, it will go here with the other enchantments. Oh, here we go, the Masamune. This is Sephiroth's sword. And there have been plenty of other games these days plenty of other games over the years that have had a Masamune of some form. His in particular actually isn't all that powerful, but it's legendary because of what it does in Final Fantasy VII. And I won't go into detail about that, but this is a pretty good equipment. It only costs 3 to get out in the first place, and only costs 2 to equip to a creature of yours. So yeah, very good that way, especially because well, yeah, it's just really good in my opinion. So artifact down here. All right, we got another foil here, and this is the first one that we're seeing with job select. So I mentioned the heroes are going to play a big part. So job select we'll see on various other equipments. When this equipment enters, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token, and then attach this to it. So while he is a 1/1 creature, this being attached to it would give it +2/+2, and it has trample and haste, and is a samurai in addition to its other types. Final Fantasy I, the very first one, you could choose which classes you wanted your characters to be. You did have to stick with them the entire rest of the game, though. Final Fantasy III introduced being able to switch those kinds of jobs around. There were about a dozen or so different jobs. 5 did the same kind of thing. And then other games down the road had different versions of that. Final Fantasy Dimensions, I mentioned for mobile, does something very similar too, where you can just switch jobs on the fly, and they get better with more usage. So this is their way of representing the job system throughout the franchise. All right, and then here is our first town. So again, there are lands throughout all of again, I keep mixing up the two. There are lands throughout Magic the Gathering, and sometimes lands have different types. This mountain here is a basic land, meaning there's no additional effects. You just tap it, you get this red mana out of it. This is a town, and some other cards throughout the set are going to have effects with towns. This one has to enter tapped, but then when you normally are playing it, you can get either blue or a red mana. And this one is from Final Fantasy IV Baron, which is actually, I believe, your starting town, with Kain and Cecil and the mission that they have to go on. This particular Samurai's Katana says it's from, again, 14. I forgot to mention it. Like I said, jobs have been in the game since the very beginning. All right. Good so far. Let's go into our next one. Okay, here we go. This is going to be an art card. So if they say this, that means on the other side you're going to see specific art that was created for this set. And you can already see the title of it here. It's about Cloud X Soldier. Oh yeah. Like that a lot. Just nice and clean and iconic. It's hard to not say it's iconic. So we'll put that here. I do collect the art cards. I know they're not as valuable to some people as others, but I like them. Okay, Ahriman, also called a floating eye. This one's from Final Fantasy III. Not fun to play against in the normal Final Fantasy games. Not terrible in this, but he's got flying and death touch, meaning that, you know, if he attacks somebody and, you know, if there's a creature blocking him, that creature will die no matter what. So, creature there. And then a Balam T-Rex-Sor. This is from Final Fantasy VIII. Balam is Balam Garden is where you spend a lot of your time training in the initial parts of the game. But yeah, there are dinosaurs. They just show up sometimes, I guess. I know there's definitely dinosaurs in Final Fantasy VI that are some of the hardest random encounters that you can come across until you're a decent level. But yeah, T-Rex-Sor. Dragoon's Wyvern. This one's from 11. Looks pretty cute. It's a drake. Yeah, not much to say about this, except it does create a hero creature token. So that's kind of fun too. You have someone who can, you know, come in alongside you for only 3, so that's not bad. Oh, here's another Moogle. This one's from 14, Cloudbound Moogle. And again, they have their own creature type for this too in this. I love it. Cycling, you'll see a lot. That just means that if it's in your hand, you can pay that cost there, discard it, and then look for either just the next card, or if it's specific enough, you know, do that. So this can help get you a plains card if you need it, instead of using it as a creature. Suplex. Okay, I was hoping we would get this one. This one, I know it was going to be in the set because it's actually in the starter kit. That's another thing we'll get around to eventually. But if you look at the art here, this is the train, and I'm very happy that we were opened them in this order. One of the things that you can do in that particular fight against the Phantom Train is literally suplex it. Sabin is your monk character in the game, and a lot of his special moves are called blitzes, and they're basically all wrestling moves or energy moves of some kind. He's the martial artist, and it can show you suplexing a train. It is so funny, especially when you use it to finish it off. So it's just like it's like a wrestling move. so fun. Is it the best card in the set? No. Is it flavorful? Absolutely. Flavor is something you might hear me refer to a few times. The flavor of this whole Final Fantasy set is so good to me. That's what I am so happy about, is that they're doing a great representation of the games, of the franchise in this. Previous sets that they crossed over with, like Doctor Who or Transformers, sometimes they got it really well done, sometimes they didn't. This, I'm just so happy with everything so far. So. Namazu Trader. This is from 14. Okay, so there's... Okay. I have played a good amount of 14, but I have only done like the free level of it. I haven't paid for any of it yet, because it's a critically acclaimed MMO where you can play for free up to a certain level, like a lot of MMOs out there. I know there's still so much that I can do, even with all the dozens of hours I put in. But anyway, Fish Citizen, I guess merchant, trader dude, so. Adventurers Inn. This is another town. So when it enters, you gain 2 life, and then that symbol there means you can add a colorless mana. So there are 5 colors. There's blue, white, black, red, green. And then you can also get colorless mana sometimes from specific lands like this one. All right, Adalbert Steiner. Is this our first 9 representation? No, we've had some others, but he's our first character from 9. I know that. Playable character. Steiner is a spellblade, is kind of the way to say it. So you can use him just to do physical attacks, but with someone else in your party, who I'm hoping we find eventually, you can give his attacks elemental powers as well. and he grows a lot as a character. He goes from very staunch and must follow the law to going around to the party and being like, maybe spirit of the law is better than letter of the law, and let's try to do good. Again, I have yet to play all of 9, but I only hear great things about that. So he can get very powerful because he gets boosted just for each equipment you control, not necessarily what's attached to him. So, cargo ship. All right, this one, hey, it's also from 9. Perfect. So, yeah, not much to say about this right now, because again, I don't have personal experience with 9. But I do like that it only costs 1 to crew it. This crew cost here means that whatever creature or creatures you tap, they have to have a total power of that number there to be able to do it. And with pretty much any airship, I think you just need 1 person in your party to be able to do it. So makes sense to have that here. Okay, Gaius Van Belsar. This is another 14 one. Haven't come across him yet myself, but doesn't look fun to go up against. Human soldier. Oh, Prompto. All right. Prompto's fun. He's the most laid back of the main 4 that you play with in Final Fantasy 15. And so talking a bit about Final Fantasy Record Keeper, which I'll just try to refer to as Record Keeper. With his character, one of his ultimate moves that you could do, or soul breaks, was that you could do a lot of damage and then take a selfie. And I think some of the other art that he has in this, in another card of his, is basically him taking a selfie of the other, like the rest of the group, in the middle of a battle. So it is great. Again, selfie shot. When you have a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast a creature, treasure token. So yeah, selfie shot literally in the card here. So very, very fun. The Lunar Whale. This is the last airship that you get in Final Fantasy IV. You literally go to the moon with it. 4 is a weird one, but it's fun. It was the first Super Nintendo Final Fantasy game, and yeah, it's not a real whale. It just looks like one. That's it. But yeah, as long as you attack this turn, you may play the top card up your library, and then look at your top of your library anytime. So, and again, just accrue 1 cost. So that's great. All right, Resentful Revelation. We've got our foil for this one. It's Sephiroth Studying. So in Final Fantasy VII, again, I don't know how much they've changed this in the remake trilogy, but at some point Sephiroth learns about his past and how he's even come to exist, and he's not happy. So this is him learning about that whole history, and then in the scenes after this moment in the game, he flies off and really starts to wreck things. So yeah. And then the last one is an island. It's also foil. Sometimes you can get multiple in one pack. So this is from 13. So I don't know where it is, but yeah, I like the look of it. This reminds me of the Zora domain in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, just with the building structures there. 13 is a very futuristic one. I know some of the games get into heavier technology and kind of abandon the fantasy part of it, but it's still, that's what helps each one stand out from each other. All right. Oh, and here we got some food. This is another kind of artifact that you can get that helps you get life back if needed. So this one looks like it's from 15, because it's actually got like even soda cans in here. 15 is fun because it's kind of like a road trip. That's the best way to describe it from my understanding. And here we go, another hero, perfect. And a little spoiled that there's a flip card here. We'll look at that more later. Marlboro. Okay, I looked into the history of the name of this guy. Completely coincidental that it sounds a lot like the name of a cigarette company. Marlboro. Just funny how that worked out, but yeah, he's got bad breath and swamp cycling. Fighting this guy in any game, I want to say he showed up first in 3, but fighting him in any game, he'll cause a lot of bad status effects for you. In this case, the bad breath causes the opponent to discard a card, lose 2 life, and exile the top 3 cards in the library, just from him entering. And then he's a 4/4 creature on top of that deal with. So not fun to fight against, but yeah, it's all right. Bard's Bow. Here's another job select card. So gets +2/+2, has reach, and is a bard in addition to its other types. Now, what's kind of disappointing about this one, so this is another one from 14, the equip cost is 6. That is pretty high for something that only gives 2/2 and reach. You can get a lot of other cards that have those kinds of effects, if only temporarily, but 6 is just a high equip cost for anything. And to only get +2/+2 feels like it's kind of lacking. So, it's okay. If you need something to, if you need a green blocker, then sure. Put you down there. Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum. So this is room 10. The story of 10 follows first Tidus, but then it switches to Yuna, who is a summoner who is on a journey to complete a ritual. I haven't played all of 10, but I know that, eventually she does go down on her journey and completes it to some degree. She also has to get married at some point to Seymour. It's a complicated one, but I've heard a lot of people love that too. Final Fantasy is also kind of like Doctor Who in the sense that, one, obviously they both had sets in Magic the Gathering, but two, a lot of people say that whatever the first one is that you played, that's your favorite. In my case, 6 was the first one I played, so that's my favorite Final Fantasy. A lot of people started with 10 because that was the first PS2 game. The PS2 sold like crazy. So this depicts, I want to say, just other summoners. I haven't gotten quite that far in 10 to really know, but this again says who it is. So yeah, You're Not Alone. I know this particular card name comes from a song that has to deal with the main character of 9, who is Zidane. Although it's argued that maybe Garnet, the other person in this card, is more the main character. They're both, pretty closely intertwined with each other. But yeah, there's a pretty poignant moment in 9 where the song that plays is called You're Not Alone. So, yeah. All right, Light of Judgment. Here we go. So, this guy here, this is Kefka Palazzo. He is the main bad guy of Final Fantasy VI, and his Light of Judgment is basically how he decides to punish whoever he wants. Final Fantasy VI is interesting because it's one of the few games where you lose at some point. The bad guy wins. It's very... How can I put this without spoiling too much of the game itself? If you've seen the Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame movies, it feels a lot like that. If you played Final Fantasy VI, you're going to know what I'm talking about, but there's a certain point in Final Fantasy VI where it feels like the end of Avengers Infinity War. So, yeah, Light of Judgment, instant, it deals 6 damage, not that bad. Okay, White Mage's Staff, another job here. This one's all the way back from Final Fantasy 1, because White Mage was an original class. So you get to create a White Mage that gets you life back whenever you attack. Not even if you deal damage, it's whenever you're attacking and get health back. Alright, Magic Pot. Here's a fun creature that's shown up in a few different games. This one is showing a Final Fantasy V iteration. Interesting fact about this, you can beat it and get a good reward if you give it an item. He says, give me elixir. You can just try to beat it, but he may just run away after a certain amount of time. But if you actually do use an elixir on this guy, then he'll give you either a bunch of money or a bunch of experience. It might depend on the game, but yeah, that's how that works. So, artifact creature, so we'll go with creature here. Ring of the Lucii. See. Again, I haven't played all of 15. I know a bit about it, so I apologize for mispronouncing it. But this is from 15. And yeah, it's 4 cost to get 2 out, but then you can also tap to target non-land permanent, so yeah, not too bad. Okay, here's Shantoto. So we talked about her. She had that was this one here. So that's Shantoto. That's her there. So Tactician Magician. And I want to say... Yeah, okay, so if you look at the flavor text here, the flavor text is anything that's below the line that they write in italics. This character's species or race, however you want to call it, I want to say they always have to rhyme. So, oh ho ho ho, I might be the harshest mistress in all of Vanadil, but I may yet forgive you if at my feet you kneel. And again, to fit with the rhyming scheme, tactician magician. So there you go. The species isn't a dwarf and some other. I want to say it's something along the lines of Lilliputian. It's not that exactly, but they're a shorter species in that. So yeah, Ultros, obnoxious octopus, one of my favorite characters that isn't a playable character in 16. He is a boss that you come across multiple times. You can see him here. This is in the opera scene. And you can see on the side here, this is, I want to say that's Locke, or maybe that's Edgar, to get a closer look. But yeah, you fight against this octopus a few different times, and he is he tries to hog the spotlight whenever he can. So he's very, very fun that way. Hard to do in limited or standard or modern play, I want to say, but this later effect, when you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 8 mana was spent to cast it, put 8 1/1 counters on Ultra. So he could get big and bad, especially if you play him later in the game. Creatures go here. Okay, so we did kind of have a spoiler that we were going to flip cards. Here's this flip. So, side quest, catch a fish. This is actually one of the earliest cards that they revealed when talking about the cards in the set. So, this is something from Final Fantasy 15. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You can eventually transform it into the cooking campsite. And yeah, that's what that is. Kind of looked ahead at the next card here. And this is Venat, Heart of Hydaelyn. From 14, whenever you cast a legendary spell, draw a card. Triggers only once each turn. But she can transform as well. Transforms into Hydaelyn the Mother Crystal. I need to play more 14 to see what is up with this, because this is so cool looking. Very, very cool. Legendary creature god. There's not a lot of gods in the set, but there are a few. But yeah, she doesn't start off as one. Starts off as an elder wizard. There is a lot of lore to Final Fantasy 14. Again, not to get too much into the history of 14, but I know that it had to basically be restarted from scratch after its initial launch. And I think some of the lore that's in the game nowadays has to do with the restart. So, cool there. Okay, we got a white mage staff. We got a staff, but we got a foil one now. Very cool there. And then another town. This one is from 6, Vector Imperial Capital. You visit this a couple different times throughout the game. But yeah, this is where the bad guys' headquarters is, basically, until later on. So, yeah, get a black orbit out of that. Some towns we'll see in the set will have more effects than just get mana out of it. But yeah, that's that. Alright, so we got another wizard here. Another, again, Black Mage Wizard from 9. And hero again, we've seen him before. Alright, and then Airship Crash, which happens in a few games. This one is depicted from 9, though. So, that is unfortunate, but at least makes for a cool set piece afterwards. Instant. Retrieve the Esper. This is from the very beginning of Final Fantasy VI. So you play again as Terra, as well as control a couple of soldiers for the Empire. Spoilers, she's brainwashed at the beginning of the game and has to work for the Empire. But they're actually called Biggs and Wedge, who become recurring characters throughout the majority of the games. So yeah, you are going to retrieve the Esper. Also, Esper is a term in Final Fantasy which means summon. Esper is determined Magic the Gathering, which means a specific color group. I am so much more familiar with the Final Fantasy terminology of it, so if you ever hear me talk about Esper and I talk about it meaning summon, forgive me, if that's not how you're used to it. Fate of the Sun Crest. This is from 12. who has to cast if it targets a top creature and destroy target non-land permanent. Always handy to have removal spells. Red Mage's Rapier. Alright, so from Final Fantasy 1, you can have a Red Mage, which is good. The Red Mage is kind of the jack of all trades. So you can cast some white magic, can cast some black magic, and can do some offense. So that's how this works. Black Mage's Rod is the offensive magic type, also from Final Fantasy 1 here. Classic look here where you've got the yellow hat, the blue outfit, and just a couple of golden eyes looking through the brim of the hat. Very, very fun. Iron Giant is from 15. Pretty straightforward. He's got Vigilance, Reach, and Trample. Costs 7 to get out. He's a 6/6. Vincent's Limit Break. Okay, here's another kind of tiered thing as well, but the limit breaks are something in Final Fantasy as well that there's like ultimates. They're high power moves that you can use kind of depending on how your battle's going. So yeah, this is when it dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its own control. Vincent Valentine in Final Fantasy VII, he was, I guess, deep enough to get his own game. I want to say he was the first one to get a spin-off from Final Fantasy VII. Oh no, maybe, I don't know. Dirge of Cerberus is his game. If you ever hear about that, that is the game that features him and explores more of his backstory and why he could change into gigantic nightmares. So. Alright, here's another Through the Ages one. So this is initially Deadly Dispute, but it is depicting Baron Rivalry. You have Cecil, the Dark Knight, and Kane the Dragoon. They are the chief military personnel for the Baron army. And yeah, they start off as allies, kind of goes back and forth between the game of Final Fantasy IV for them. But yeah, it's pretty cool there. I do love the look of the helmets and everything. It's just, again, I love all the artwork in this and how in-depth it is. Sorry, hopping over this a little bit. Okay, Diamond Weapon. Okay, Diamond Weapon. It's another uncommon, but it's a legendary, and this one's a big bad guy because he's got something called Immune. If you played Final Fantasy VII, you'll know why. It's this prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Diamond Weapon. I want to say the only thing that can affect it in any way in 7 are limit breaks. Again, those ultimate moves. Normal attacks of any kind, no matter how high a level you are, just don't cut it. So, that is also I want to say it's also an optional fight. There's the Diamond Weapon, the Ruby Weapon, maybe one or two others, but yeah, part of the story of 7 is that these weapons are unleashed to somewhat try to stop Sephiroth, and doesn't quite work, but they're still big bad guys in their own respect. So, oh, Phoenix Down, classic. This one is depicting it from 6, but they've been in every single game. I used to think when I was first playing the games that it meant, oh, you'll act like a phoenix and be raised when you're down. No, down is actually from a bird, the feather for it. So sometimes an animation plays that it's feathers falling over to your fallen character. So this will help get your allies back from the dead. That's an artifact in this case. Realm's Sketching. Realm is a character from Final Fantasy VI. She's a cute little girl who can destroy you with the things that she sketches. And in this case, she is sketching some dinosaurs, because like I said, dinosaurs appear in multiple games, including 6. So yeah, she's... If you ever hear the term Blue Mage, it's used a few different ways, and Final Fantasy VI actually has a few characters who kind of fit into that mold. Realm kind of fits that, along with her grandpa, Straugo, who we'll eventually see. But yeah, that is that. Now we've got our rare card here, or card that has a car on it, from Father to Son. This is from 15. Search your library for a vehicle card, reveal it, and put it in your hand. Like I said, 15, a lot of it has to do with just being on a road trip with the bros. So, our foil for this is the Delivery Moogle. In 14, you can get mail that has to do with events, or maybe you're trading with a player. I think that's how you can do it as well. Again, I play at the free level, so it's a bit limited in my experience, but you see these guys in pretty much every town, sometimes a few in different parts of the towns. So, no letters just arrived for you, Kupo. Our swamp here is from 5. Oh, this is the sunken shipyard. Okay, this happens kind of early on in 5. But yeah, there's a part where you are sailing and then your ship crashes, and you need to make it back to shore, so you're kind of hopping between ships that have also been sunk at that time. Yeah. There's a couple here that actually are in their own packs. I'll show them off really fast. They look different because I know what's in them already. You can kind of see through a little bit, but oh, wait, maybe not. Oh, sorry, I thought this was something else. This is... okay. This is different. I wasn't expecting. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought this was going to be... okay, I'll come... sorry, this is catching me off guard. So this is Torgal Fine Hound. This is from 16, which is the newest one in the franchise. How? Okay. Yeah, so the companion to Clive, who's the main character. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this in a second. I had thought, I was kind of looking at this and I could see this looks like a token, if you can kind of see it through the packaging. I thought they were all just tokens and lands, and because that's what I thought I had said, so. Yeah. But yeah, that other one might be some pretty good looking stuff. Excuse me for a second. So we got, okay, yeah, here are planes. So planes from 12, from 7, from 15, from 13, 10, 8, 14, 2, 5, which we just saw, 6, which we've seen, 4, that's a pivotal moment there for Cecil, 1, you can see the adventuring party there. It looks like it's made up of a black mage, white mage, warrior, and maybe a monk. 9, 3, 11. Oh, and then they've got wastes as well. Okay, and 16. And then a couple cards that kind of explain the styles of play. So, okay, so I'll put the lands over here, and then these guys will go up here. But let's come back now to this other one, because I thought this is just going to be... okay, it looks like there are some more. Wow, okay, so we've got Torgal Fine Hound, like I said. Also a mana dork of sorts, but yeah, alright. And then Dion Bahamut's Dominant. Dion's from 16 as well. These blank Dominant, if we come across any more of them in this video, it'll show off that they can transform into that summon. So, yeah, okay, so during your turn, Dion, sorry, I got caught way off guard because of what I was saying here. Other knights control outflying. So he's a Dragoon. Dragoons are basically the ones who can jump in the air for a turn and not get hit. Then he can be transformed into, like I said, Bahamut. And this one we can foil. It's so cool. Alright. Bahamut is one who shows up in most of the games that there are summons, and even in Final Fantasy 1, Bahamut shows up, not as a summon or even an enemy you have to fight. He's who you go to upgrade your classes. So if you are a warrior, you get upgraded to a paladin, basically. White and black mage get upgraded to white and black wizard. So yeah, Bahamut is who you have to go to for that. But he plays a bit of a different role depending on the game that you're playing. So I guess with this we're just seeing some more lands, but they're foil this time, so that's why. Okay, yeah, I thought we were gonna get just tokens and stuff, but I guess I got a couple fun foils as well. All right, well we got 4 left, so I will keep opening these up. Sorry, that's gonna. I'll put these down below so they're not glaring. I'll finish these up, and maybe say that there's going to be a part 2 to this, so definitely watch this one first, and that way if I skip over any in part 2, then yeah, we'll go from there, because this is already hitting an hour. I don't want to take up too much of your time at once. I appreciate you sticking with me so far, and trying something new with this. So we've got 4 of these packs left here. Let's go into this one. We got another art card. Esper Ramu. Okay, so he's appeared in various games. This, I believe, was depicted for Final Fantasy VI. Oh, that is fun art there. So Ramu is generally shown as an older man. In 6, he plays a pivotal role in explaining some plot points for you. But yeah, he is generally over the element of lightning in the games. So yeah, not a lot. Okay, Sephiroth's intervention, depicting a fun part of 7. So again, no spoilers here, but if you know, you know. So instant. Gigantode. This one's from 15. I think 15 is kind of famous for having some big enemies. We may come across another one in one of the sets here, or decks. But yeah, Gigantode gets bigger if you have more land to take, that's under your control. A Rook Turret. This one's from 14. Not a part I'm familiar with yet, but yeah, 14's got an interesting mix of, it's not quite steampunky, but there are definitely parts of it that are. So yeah, Artifact Creature Construct, Aerith Rescue Mission, another fun part of Final Fantasy VII. When you get to a certain part of Shinra headquarters, you can either choose to take the elevator, which is a lot faster, but you have to go through some fights. Or you can take 59 flights of stairs, and you go through each and every one of those flights of stairs. So I'm very happy to see the flavor of this come through into card form. Because, yeah, these are the 3 characters you would have in your party. You have Cloud, Tifa, and Barret. And choosing one of these will make one person happy, choosing the other will make the other person happy. Not that affects a ton throughout the game, its happiness levels, but just, again, a fun thing to include as a card. So, Blazing Bomb. Bombs are little fire elemental baddies that appear in a lot of games. This one is shown from 9. 9 had a almost cartoony art style, and this is reflected here with its eyes and such, so, and the arms too. Final Fantasy VI had bombs, and some of them, well, actually even back in 4, I know they had them where it was just the sphere. I think like the fireballs from Mario games, just like that. So yeah, elemental here, fire, and can just blow up on you, like a Voltorb or Electrode from Pokemon. So a Grand Pulse Ochu, Plant Beast. This is from 13. All right, it's a 1/1 for 1, but it's got Death Touch. And then if you pay 8, it can get +1/+1 for each permanent card in your graveyard. So if you manage to keep him on the field, or even play him late in the game, and then just pay a lot to beef him up, that's pretty scary. Lunatic Pandora. This is from 8. I don't know what this is. Surveil 1 and then sacrifice it to destroy target on that permanent. Okay. 8 is interesting because it's, again, the setting is different for every single game. 8 feels like it's almost kind of modern, with some futuristic technology. Your bases can fly at some point, so I don't know what this is yet. If I ever get around to playing 8, which I intend to, I'll come back to this and learn. Dragoon's Lance. Like I said, the Dragoons are knights that can jump, and so they're able to, yeah, so during your turn, equip creature is flying, which means, in magic terms, that they can only be blocked by other creatures with flying or creatures with reach, as if they could fly. Again, kind of a high cost to equip, though, for just, like, if you get it off of the hero that it creates, Interesting that it's 4 there, because you only get the 1-0. Coliseum Behemoth. Now, when I first saw this card, I thought it was maybe going to be represented from 6. This is actually from as far back as 2. 2 I haven't played all of yet. I've started it. There's been various releases of many of the games over the years, and I've been playing the Pixel Remaster version of 2. So I don't know where this one shows up specifically, but I know that 6 has a Coliseum that a Behemoth shows up in. That's why I thought from there, but no, this one is specifically from 2. Behemoths are just big, beastie boys. That makes sense for this. Then we have Jot, King of the Dwarves from 4. Alright, so the dwarves actually live underground. There are a few different maps on Final Fantasy IV that you go through, and underground is where the dwarves live. So he has got double strike and gets better with other dwarves in play. And dwarves quite frequently say Lally-ho. That is one thing I wish was on this card, was the Lally-ho that they say. But yeah, that is there. Poison the Waters. Pivotal moment in Final Fantasy VI that just shows exactly how evil Kefka is. Because he poisons the water for an entire castle Doma, and almost everyone there dies because of his work. And he was specifically told by his boss not to do that, or at least not cause too much trouble. But no, he's an agent of chaos. So, yeah. Okay, and then we've got our rare Summoner's Grimoire. So you get to create a summoner, which, like I said, has been in games since Final Fantasy III. This one's depicted from 14, though. It says it's a shaman in addition to its other types, and then you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. Oh, and if it's an enchantment card, which like the enchantment creatures here are, it enters tapped and attacking, which is a nice kind of workaround for summoning sickness, if you're familiar with that. Cool. The Port Scout. This is from 14. Whenever another creature control enters, the creature gets 1/1 until end of turn. This would work really, really well in Anthem decks with things like Rabbits. Bloomburrow was the set that came out last year that had a lot to do with that, and I talked a bit about that in my Magic the Gathering Arena video. So he would work perfect with a deck like that. And then Guadasalem, Warpling Gateway from 10. Alright. Yeah. I'm going to take a quick little break here just to hydrate and be right back. All right, thanks for waiting. I mean, you probably didn't wait. I probably edited this down so that you're just coming right back right away. Okay, this means pack number 6. We've got 3 left. A token 4, an elemental. This token is all colors, so I'm curious as to what would conjure this in the first place. This is from 14, so there's our hero. Very fun. Alright, and on the flip we get Prish's Wanderings. Prish is from 11. I know her because of Record Keeper. Not much else though. But helps to search your library for a basic land card or town card. And put on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. And then you get to put a 1 counter on target creature control. Ukraine Merchant from 11. It's like a kobold almost. Beast Citizen. Not much to say. Haven't played 11, but looks adorable. Slash of Light. As I mentioned on the, showing off the initial box over here for the play booster stuff, the kind of representative of Final Fantasy 1 is the Warrior of Light. Fix this up so it's not quite as. There we go. That might be better for you. Warrior of Light. So if you play Final Fantasy 1 plain, you actually won't see him at all. If you play other games like Dissidia or other related games, you might see him. Showed up in Record Keeper. But yeah, Flash of Light deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control, plus the number of equipment you control to target creature. That ain't bad. Mysidian Elder. Mysidia is a city in Final Fantasy III, and there's been references to Mysidia in other games as well. Okay. It's a town of white and black mages, so that makes sense. Shinra Reinforcements. Shinra is the main bad group in Final Fantasy VII, although kind of depends on if you think of them as serious or not, or maybe even in the remake games they don't appear as much. I don't know yet. I imagine they still do, but they're basically the grunt soldiers here. World map. This is a fun Easter egg. So this is showing from Final Fantasy 1. This is actually the world map of Final Fantasy 1. So you would start around here, and then make your way up and around. Eventually you can get a ship that lets you cross over this, and then get out that way, and then explore the whole world. Eventually get your airship down here. So it's not just some random map. This is legitimate. Very much like that. Hilgigas from 6 shows up in a few random places. I say random because the first place I can think of that you can see him is in a town called Zozo. He just is there. He's there. You just it shows up alongside other little kind of scrawny peasant looking dudes, and yeah, he's not fun if you catch the off guard. Ride the Shupuf. Ride the Shupuf a la Boars. From 10, I guess. I haven't gotten to this point in 10. I've played it. So where I've played 2 and 10 is I've met Auron, and I've met Riku, and that's about it. So that was when I played it on. I played the PS2 version to start off, and then sometime later is when I got to the HD remaster of 10 and 10-2. So that's what I plan on restarting with eventually. So I have no idea what this guy is. But it's an enchantment with landfall. Landfall is always great. Self-destruct. Okay. Oh, and it's from 5 with Gilgamesh in the flavor text. Target creature you control deals X damage to any other target and X damage to itself, where X is the power. This one, some people have been talking about in relation to another one of the first cards that they revealed, the Jumbo Cactuar. If we ever see that, then I'll maybe pull this guy back out and explain how that combo could work. But yeah, self-destruct makes sense again for certain enemies to have this and just do damage all around. Another Phoenix down here, we've gone over that. And then the Darkness Crystal. This one is from Final Fantasy III. Excuse me. So these, there's a crystal for every color in Magic, so there are 5 in this case, but normally when you think of Final Fantasy, you might just think of 4. There's air, earth, water, and fire. So 3 has some darkness crystals, and 4 has some darkness crystals. 5 has crystals as well, but it's just the 4, and they're all broken, or they break along the way. 6 doesn't have any, but they have Esper. So again, it kind of depends. I would need to go back to 3 to see where the darkness crystal comes into play. But this, yeah, looks good to me. At least as far as the art goes. I say looks good. Obviously, in practice, in play, and in deck construction, it's going to depend on what else I put in with it. So, yeah. Okay, Joshua Phoenix is dominant. So like I said with the other one there, he is a dominant. This guy's from 16, and I know a little about 16. I want to say he's the little brother to the main character Clive, and he transforms into the Phoenix, or Warden of Fire. And this is always powerful, always great, and generally in the Final Fantasy games, not only does he do damage, but he can also resuscitate one or multiple members of your party. In this case, it looks like you can return any number of target creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, then exile, and then return face back up. And then he's got flying and lifelink. So yeah, again, flavor-wise, this is great. I think it's very fitting. Again, I haven't played 16 specifically, but as far as getting the Phoenix part right, Makes total sense. Okay, and then we have a foil here of Quina, Ku Gourmet. Quina is interesting. Quina is the first, I mean, if you want to call it non-binary, Quina is just Quina. They're just them, and they know what they're about. They like to eat, and that's it. And you get to create frog creature tokens. That's what they go for. So yeah, that is here. And then here we go. It's a forest. This is from 11. These full art cards are something. I love the look of all these. So nice. Okay, we got 2 left. Try to see through this a little bit more. Got another art card here. Well, there. Oh, we've got art of Locke Cole. Locke is a treasure hunter, specifically treasure hunter, not a thief, not a rogue, but a treasure hunter for Final Fantasy VI. So he's the second character they get to play as, or at least have join your party after Terra. Excuse me. This, I think, is actually him on a, yeah. So there's one part of Final Fantasy VI where you actually get split into 3 different parties. And based on whichever party you choose, you'll eventually play all of them. But in his story, he's on his own to start with, and then he joins up with a general from the Empire that joins your side. At some point, you steal a guard's clothes and make your way around. So I believe that's what this part is depicting. Yeah, he is very much a treasure hunter with a very good heart. Has a very sympathetic backstory. Okay, I had kind of shown this off a little bit, but this is haste magic. It inadvertently showed it off. I just flip it around. But haste magic, get 3/1 haste until end of turn. Makes sense. Haste in the games gets you to act faster on your turn, especially for the games with the ATB system, active time battle. That makes a lot of difference. This is obviously Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. We got another Malboro, already went over that. Bard spell, went over that. Rook turret, Magitech Infantry. This is from 15, it looks like. Alright, so, again, I haven't played 15, but I can talk about this in terms of Magic playstyle. So, in certain formats, in the basic form, like standard format, you can have up to 4 non-legendary cards with the same name out in play at a given time. So the effect here, to be able to search your library for a card named to Magic Infantry, put it on the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle, makes sense. There's one format I play a lot with my neighborhood friends, which is Commander, and for that you make what's called a singleton deck, where you only have one of any given card, period, except for basic lands, or cards that say that you may have a deck with any number of this card in it. So in this case, Magitech Infantry would not be good for that format. It's good for most others, though. So, yeah. Artifact, a creature. White Auracite. This is from 14. And that's Minfilia, I want to say. In 14, your character meets up with the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. And Minfilia is, I believe, the leader of that group. In Record Keeper, you actually get to have her join your gang of characters you can choose to play with. She's a knight character type in that, so yeah. Some artifact there. Lunatic Pandora again. The Final Days. This is from 14. I think we have seen this one. Yep. Choco Comet, sorcery. I know we've seen that. Steiner, seen him as well. Ultima. Okay, so Ultima. Oh, we got a few more besides. Okay. This is interesting. So it's a sorcery, meaning that you can only play it on your turn. Destroy all artifacts and creatures. Not just the opponents, but all of them. End the turn. Exile all spells and abilities from the stack, including this card. The player whose turn it is discards down to their maximum hand size. Damage wears off in this turn until end of turn effects end. So sometimes a creature or enchantment say when this creature dies or when this leaves the battlefield, da 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 da. This would just stop that. It's just, no, we're done. It's over for this turn. So, kind of a big deal. This is depicting it from 14. Ultima showed up as early as Final Fantasy IV as the ultimate white magic spell. But yeah, it can be powerful, especially since it gets rid of everything. Unless the creature or artifact or enchantment says it's got hexproof, I want to say, or is indestructible. So there are obviously, again, some workarounds, but yeah. And being able to just end the turn so that your opponent's abilities don't go into effect is pretty cool. So. Alright, Moogle's Valor. This is from 6. Early on, right after you meet Block, you actually get some help from Moogle, so that makes sense. For each creature you control, create a 1/2 white Moogle creature token with lifelink, and then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So this is better late game in Magic, if you've already got at least a few creatures out, because then you can double the number of creatures you have, and then they're all unable to be killed for that turn. Pretty fun. But yeah, this is pretty early on. You do eventually get a Moogle named Mog that can join your party. So yeah. Okay, we've got a foil here of Unexpected Request. Again, we have Zidane and Garnet here. So our foil, it's something pretty early in 9, where, if I remember right, she kind of asks to be kidnapped, because otherwise she's going to have to go through with royal procedures and ceremonies, and I think even a wedding that she doesn't want to be part of. So she asks Zidane to be... Zidane? Again, I apologize for mispronunciation, but she has to be kidnapped so that she can get out of there. And then we've got a mountain to finish things off. This is... the volcano from Final Fantasy I, which name escapes me. Mount Wurg? I'll have it on screen right now to show off. But yeah. Okay, last one for the bundle here. Okay, and starting off with a bird token. So here is our Chocobo again. And then whenever land you control enters, this token gets 1/0 until end of turn. Always great to have a landfall ability. On the backside is a hero. From what I was hearing too, the design for all the heroes, they're all again from Final Fantasy XIV. And I think the rumor, if it hasn't been confirmed yet, is that these are all based on characters that the development team put in, making these cards, who they actually played as in Final Fantasy XIV. Which, if that's the case, hats off to you. That is such a great move to do and show off. So, yeah. All right. So we have a Dwarven Castle Guard. So this goes well with, again, Jot. This creature dies, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token. There's the Lollyho as the Dwarven greeting. They also just say it for fun. Thunder Magic. Here's that tiered magic again. So it gets more powerful the more you cast. Or more you spend, rather. So that's an instant. Makes sense. Resentful Revelation, which we've seen I got the foil of. Blitzball Shot. Here is Waka from Final Fantasy X. Voiced by the same guy whose name escapes me, but John DiMaggio, I want to say. Same guy that does Bender and many other characters in that same vein. But yeah, originally voiced by him in Final Fantasy X, which was the first one with voice acting. And I didn't mention this before, but the reason why there was some debate as to whether or not it was Titus or Titus when the game first came out was because he's the only character whose name you can change. Everyone else, Waka, Lulu, Yuna, Kimari, all of them, their names stay the same throughout the whole game, and so they do not get changed, and there's voice acting for all of them. But yeah, Blitzball Shot, so yeah, it makes sense. Combat Tutorial. This is from 10. Here is, again, Titus, speaking of, with Lulu in the background there. And, okay. Paladin's Arms. So, this one more than just making a knight. I mean, it isn't a knight, but in terms of Final Fantasy, it would be closer to a paladin who has a bit more oomph to it because he's got this Ward 1. So, yeah. Grand Pulse Ochu, who we've seen. Tifa's Limit Break. This one's fun. It might be the first time that Magic has ever had that sometimes you can get, bonuses to your power and toughness. Sometimes it can be doubled, but I think this is the first time we've ever had it potentially tripled. So that can just get really, really big. And here it is with her, I want to say that's the dolphin kick. Oh no, that might just be the somersault there. Yeah, because somersault, okay, that done. Yeah, somersault, meteor strikes, and final weapon. Those are the names of her actual limit breaks in 7. So, okay, Tonberry. This was another one of the ones they showed off when they first started showcasing them. Tonberry's been in since 5. This is the one where it's depicted here. And he starts off slow, might not even attack you for the first few turns in your encounter with him, and then he can just go right at you, just kill right away. So he starts off with a stun counter, so that kind of, again, flavor-wise makes sense. And then during your turn, this creature has first strike and death touch. So even though he only costs 1, when he's attacking for you, he's gonna be a threat. So that's great. All right, here's Zidane, Tantalus Thief. That is a tail there. He's got a tail, and he's got a lot to do with Kuja, who is the main antagonist of 9, but he is the main protagonist of 9, again, aside from Garnet. But yeah, he is very fun. He's a human mutant scout. Get to... Okay, so this is kind of depicting, again, that scene from, like, the Unusual Request, I want to say it was. Unexpected Request, yeah. You get to gain control of target creature and opponent controls until end of turn. Untap it, it gains lifelink and haste until end of turn. So it's like you get to add someone to your party temporarily. And then, in true Thief fashion, whenever an opponent gains control of a permanent from you, you create a treasure token, so you still benefit from it. It's great. Alright, oh, and here's another one. Here's the first flip card that they showed off. So this is Garland, Knight of Cornelia. This is the bad guy from the first Final Fantasy. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, surveil 1. So you can look at top card of the library, put it in your graveyard. If you pay all that and return it from your graveyard, you can put him in transformed as Chaos, the Endless. So he is the final boss of Final Fantasy 1, so he is your first final boss that you will ever encounter if you're playing the games in chronological order. Not the hardest fight in the game, ironically. If you run into a war mech, that is probably going to be the hardest one if you catch the off guard. In later versions of Final Fantasy 1, like the Pixel Remaster, they did buff him a bit. But again, flavor-wise is great because when Chaos dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. If you play through Final Fantasy 1, you'll kind of learn that, Garland's plan was to never die and, just create a time loop where he is always going to win, which isn't quite the case, but yeah, there you go. Okay, just a couple more left. We have Zell Dinkt. He's from Final Fantasy VIII. He's the monk. Kind of similar to Sabin in terms of gameplay, from my understanding, in that you can do different button combos to do his moves. I haven't played all of 8 yet, though, and yeah, that's about all I know of him. Yeah. And then we've got a couple left. We have another one of these guys, the Laporte Scout, 14. And then finishing off with, creature, so it goes here, Guadasalam, Farplane Gateway. So, another one of those. Alright, I think I will again wrap this part up here. We'll go through the play boosters in another video that I will get to pretty shortly. I may release it online at a different time. So again, make sure you are watching this one first, as opposed to the one they'll be clearly labeled, so that if I do speed through a card in the bigger box, then you'll know why. But thank you so much for watching, and yeah, we'll wrap these up here and see you in a bit.